Hey guys, welcome to CPL Fever. It's your host Jack and Andrew Murray here, and today we are joined by Vendsyssel FF striker Easton Ongaro. He's on loan from FC Edmonton, and we're very excited to have him on the show. So how are you, Easton?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. How are you guys?
We're fabulous.
Well, the first question we usually start with is, I'm always curious, how did you fall in love with soccer? I mean, you obviously you grew up in Alberta, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how did you fall in love with soccer?
Yeah, so I started out skateboarding when I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then my parents signed me up for soccer, community league, and I was terrible, didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, wasn't good until I was in a summer camp one year. I think I was 6 years old, and my uncle Ross, who was a former professional, was the lead of the camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't participate all week until the last day when it was skills day, where we learned different tricks and whatever. And that was the first day I got involved. And after that, I just fell in love with the game. I went in the backyard that night. I was juggling, practicing catching the ball on my neck, different things. And it was like it flicked a switch, and all of a sudden I was in love with the game.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
That's so cool for not liking soccer for the whole week and then just loving it just that day, like a flip of a switch.
Yeah, exactly.
And then once you kind of started playing and you fell in love with it, have you always played striker, or did you start at different positions?
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. I think in community league, you kind of just shuffle around wherever.
It's like the beehive, right? They all follow the ball.
Yeah. When I made the transition to club soccer, I think I was probably 9 or 10 years old. And
Mm-hmm.
at that point, I was a forward, and I have basically played as a striker ever since then.
Okay. So when did you know you were good enough to go pro?
The day I signed my first pro contract. I think it was always the dream. There were definitely times where I thought, oh, for sure I'm going to play pro one day. And then there were times where I thought I had no hope. And it really goes up and down like that, especially as you're a young kid growing, and everyone grows at a different rate and peaks at a different time. And your confidence really just goes up and down and up and down. And then, yeah, like honestly, until I signed my first professional contract, I didn't know for sure if I was going to make it. I was playing university soccer at the time, and that's all I had. So yeah, no, it's not something I always thought would come true for me.
Yeah, well, you are now one of the best strikers in the CPL. So how does it feel to be known as like one of the best strikers in the CPL and have like 10 goals to your name in the inaugural season of the CPL with FC Edmonton?
Yeah, it was special for me, especially coming from never having any professional experience, never being part of a professional academy. And then to make that transition and be successful, it was, I felt I had a lot to prove, and I think I did a good job of showing what I can do. And I mean, I'm still nowhere near where I want to get to. The dream's obviously much bigger than the CPL. And so, yeah, I just keep working and hopefully just keep improving.
Well, now you're over in Denmark, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how is your Danish? Have you always studied Danish, or is this a new skill for you?
I haven't even picked up a single word yet.
But
they all speak excellent English here, so that's
perfect.
Not a problem. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that makes it certainly a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was kind of curious. You came in. You were, let's say, relatively unknown in the first season when you came in. And then a lot of people, like there was like a poll, and you were, of the top strikers, and a lot of people thought you should have won that. What's the biggest strength of your game? Like how did you come into a brand new league and just really, dominate?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I necessarily dominated. I think I just have a knack for finding spaces in the area that result in high percentage chances on goal. I've always just found a way to score goals at whatever level I'm playing at, and I think I just continue to do that. Yeah, it's not something I necessarily say I work at or train getting in these positions, but it's just something that comes natural to me.
Hmm. And who do you model your play style on? Is there anyone like that you try and emulate in your game?
I get this question a lot, and I wouldn't say there's really anyone that I really try and model my game around. My
Hmm.
favorite player is Zlatan.
Okay.
There's definitely some pieces of his game that I try and pick up and learn from and try to use in my game. But yeah, I generally just think I have my own style, and as I'm watching players at the next level, you pick up little things, you learn things that you can put into your own game.
Hmm.
Yeah, Zlatan's pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
he's still at such a high level at even being 39.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So yeah, this kind of segues into what I was going to say, because Zlatan is 6'5", and you're 6'6", so you guys are at the taller end of strikers. And then we've interviewed some players that earlier in their career, played striker and then kind of moved back to center back, like Peter Shala,
Matthew
Matthew
Arnone.
Arnone, come to mind of a couple that we've interviewed so far. So it's kind of unique that you're such a tall striker. So I'm wondering what it is that you have or you were able to develop and like in the other areas of your game, and obviously you still have the height, but what is it that kind of allows you to play as a striker, whereas other tall players end up moving back.
Yeah, I think it's partly just that natural ability I have to get in good areas and create chances for myself. Um, Also, I think I'd like to think I have pretty good feet for my height. And I mean, that goes back to from when I was 6 years old, spending every day in the backyard, just juggling the ball, working on technique, different skills, and just spending time with the ball as much as I can. And so, yeah, I think I just, if I'm not a forward, I don't think I have a career. So,
Well, it's
Yeah.
a good thing you got those good feet then.
yeah.
Um,
And you go ahead, Jack.
and I was wondering, um, is there like a formation that helps that like allows you to get into those like um areas better, or is there a formation that you like to play in better than
Um,
others?
I think my preferred formation would probably just be a standard 4-4-2.
Hmm.
A, because you have a second striker with you, it splits your defensive responsibilities in half in terms of pressing. But then also just having the extra wide players and the fullbacks who can deliver balls into the box, and then also players up through the midfield. So I think it's just a well balanced formation that's favoring for a forward.
Yeah, it's definitely a formation that I like. I think it's very solid and very like strong, and some of the best clubs in Europe play that. Like Atletico Madrid, they're masters at it.
Hmm.
So I was wondering about developing your skill, right? So we talked about your feet and your ability to find space. And what I'm wondering about is did you practice against siblings as a kid, or were you kind of practicing alone in the backyard mostly, or or like were you one of those kids that spent just like three hours a day, like after school, just working on drills?
Yeah, so I had a decent sized backyard, and my dad built a net back there. Um, and I'd spend countless hours. And then when my dad would come home from work, he'd come back there and chip the ball to me so I could work on my finishing and whatnot. And yeah, it was really just a matter of spending time with the ball around the net and just getting at it as much as I could.
Cool. And did you ever play hockey?
Never for a team. Just my dad would make a rink in the backyard, or I'd go to the rink with my friends and just play like that, or street hockey. But yeah, never organized.
So you kind of like you were just like soccer from a pretty early age. You were like, that's my
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
And what is the best drill for players to do in your position? Is it like more of like, is it just good to just shoot on the net, or is like there a specific drill that you feel like helped you get to the place that you are right now?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Depends what kind of forward you want to be. If you're someone that wants to get the ball a little bit deeper into the midfield and then drive at goal and have shots from distance, or if you're someone that just wants to be a pure finisher, getting around the net, there's different things you can work on. For me, I like spending time just as close to the net as possible, having players deliver crosses, short cutbacks, and just in close finishing, just to get that sharpness and confidence around the net.
Mm-hmm.
And as a striker, I mean, obviously you have to be able to put it in with both feet and your head. When did you start working strategically on your weaker foot?
I don't
Was
know
that
if there's
something you
ever a
always
time I really worked specifically on my weak foot. I mean, it's still not very strong, but it's something I try and use, and just over time you naturally improve. In terms of heading, I go back to when I was 7, 8 years old. My dad would be crossing balls in the backyard, and I'd be doing everything I could to finish it. So yeah, it's just from a young age, just working on everything to just be the best player I could be.
Right, that's good. And in terms of mindset, tell me about a little bit about your mindset and how you developed that which I think is important for players to develop. If they're going to go on. I'm sure in your career you've kind of passed over some talented players that didn't have the right mindset. That's what
Yeah, for sure. I think from a young age it was just about being in love with the game and having a passion for it. And if it's not this, it's nothing. So really just sticking to it and having that perseverance. There were definitely times where I thought, I don't have a chance with this. There's all these other players that are going to national team camps, going to provincial teams, going to professional academies, and I didn't have those opportunities. And you start to wonder if you're going to have these opportunities, or if it's time to maybe just, stop putting all your energy into it and just kind of take it easy and play for fun. And I think about 16 years old is the point where I kind of hit that, and I was underdeveloped for my age, and everyone else around me was bigger, and I was really struggling. And then I remember having a talk with my dad about it, and he kind of just said, if you really love it, then stick to it and just keep persevering, because you go through high school, kids start to party, start to drink, get involved with drugs, girls, and things go sideways for them. And for me, it was just a matter of really staying focused, knowing I have a dream and setting these goals for myself, and just not giving up on it. And I mean, it took until I was 20 years old in my second year of university to really get that crack at it.
Yeah, because in soccer there's like so many ups and downs, whether it's being like injuries or scouts coming to see you or getting into a championship. But it do you do any like visualization?
I do a little bit prior to games, just trying to envision how my game's going to go, what I'm going to need to do, try to think about the tactics that the coach wants to employ, and just what I got to do to perform.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about making runs behind the defenders. Is one of your strengths of your game being able to kind of get on their blind side and kind of make that diagonal run?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. That's one of the things I'd say I've kind of picked up from Zlatan, just the way he kind of hangs out in an offside position until his midfielder or whoever's on the ball gets their head up, and then he just kind of jumps on side, and then he's gone. And it's something I kind of try to employ in my game, and it becomes quite effective when the defender doesn't know where you are, or they're not worried about you because you're in an offside position, and it creates space for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So did you do a lot of research? Obviously, now you're in a new league, but when you're playing with the CPL, did you do kind of research or kind of figure out who you're going to be lining up in the game coming up, and kind of think about the best way to kind of work that center back pairing?
Yeah, when there's only 7 other teams in the league, it's not that hard to know who you're coming up against, and you get pretty familiar with the opposition. But yeah, definitely as a team, we'll go through video and just kind of analyze who we're coming up against and what their strengths and weaknesses are and how we can hurt them.
Mm-hmm. And is there a quote that you really like or that you live by?
No, I don't think there is. Yeah, no, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, is it kind of just like keep working hard? It's okay. So it's basically just like keep working hard and you'll make
Yeah,
it. Kind of like that
just
attitude that you have.
not giving up, and if you really love it, stay focused and keep pushing.
And
How do you feel kind of right now being just kind of, obviously the season ended and then now suddenly you're in a new country, a new league. What's going through your head right now? This is probably the first time you've kind of been overseas.
Yeah, so as soon as we got back from PEI, I got on the phone with my agent, and he actually had a deal lined up for me in Poland, a loan deal. However, FC Edmonton didn't really like it. There were some terms that they just didn't want to agree on, and it kind of fell through. So I was obviously disappointed because the dream's always been to play in Europe, and I sat there for a couple of weeks just trying to figure out what am I going to do this off season, because you finish in the end of August or start of September, and then you don't play another game till April. It's a long time to go, and it's hard for a young player to keep developing when you don't have consistent games. So not until 2 weeks ago now, a week and a half ago, I get a call from our club president saying we have an opportunity for me. And 2 days later, I'm on a plane and making that transition to Europe for the first time in my life. I've never really played outside of Edmonton, apart from away games with the university or with FC Edmonton. So yeah, it's a really new experience for me, but so far everything's been great. The people here are wonderful and doing everything to help me, and yeah, no, it's exciting.
yeah, it's definitely exciting to go into a new league, into a new team. And it's always funny how some transfers like take a long time to like secure, but some transfers just take like a couple days, like yours.
Yeah.
So according to Wikipedia, the loan includes an option to buy. So are you in a position where you might come back to Edmonton and you might not? Like it's kind of up in the air, or?
Yeah, so I don't know how much of the details I'm supposed to share, but I believe the loan ends on December 31st, at which point Vendsyssel will have the option to purchase me on a longer term contract. If they decide they don't want to purchase me, then I'll return home to Edmonton in January and then start preseason in March with the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you play your first, or when does the game start for Vendsyssel?
So I actually played my first game on Wednesday. So
okay.
like the fourth day I was here, we played in a cup match. I got my first 90 minutes. It wasn't a good result for us. We had a few new guys playing, and it was just say a disorganized performance. But we play next Sunday on the 18th.
Okay.
In a league game. Yeah.
So you're thrown into the Lions' den just in a cup match.
Yeah, we have a few injuries in the team, and just they needed me to get out there. And coming in, I was expecting maybe get subbed in the last 10 minutes to get my feet wet a little bit, but no, straight into the starting lineup, 90 minutes. And yeah, it was nice though to be able to play and get my first game in Europe.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what was that like? I mean, because obviously the CPL is so small relatively, so you get to really know the players. Now you're in a new country, a new league. I don't know if you how much they were able to kind of give you on the team in order to prepare, or are you just kind of confident because you know how to play soccer and you just kind of like when you're professional, you're just in that situation, you're just like, well, I'm just gonna play, and it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, I went in basically blind. I mean, not even knowing most of my teammates' names. So it was a new experience for me, but I think personally I performed all right. I did my job. Would have been nice to get a goal, but no, for a first game, I'm not too disappointed in my own performance.
And how was the game? How was the game compared to like the CPL? I mean, I know it's just kind of one game, but were there any differences?
Yeah, from what I've seen, the level of play, it isn't much different from CPL. The only difference I really notice is that we're playing on a beautiful grass pitch, and the ball moves a lot quicker, right? And it not only does it make you look like a better player because it's far easier to play on it, but it's just the game looks better, right? When you're playing in CPL, you're on a dry turf field. The ball's always bouncing, moves slow. It's easy to get near players and put in tackles. here it's a lot quicker. It's wet grass and the ball flies.
Okay.
Yeah. And how does the training compare to the CPL?
Yeah, I've only been a part of 3 training sessions now.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make a comparison, but again, it's a grass pitch. It's a beautiful environment. I think that's the biggest difference out of all of it, coming from training on a poor turf field in Edmonton to a carpet here.
Okay.
It really makes a difference.
It's funny how
Okay.
soccer players get so like kind of in love with grass. But you know, I know what you mean. Like, you know, if someone
Yeah.
is watching this and they don't play soccer, they'll be like, "What's this guy talking?" It's like, you know, it's all green, like it's all the same thing. But no, it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
different.
it's
so.
very different.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
understand. I understand.
And I wanted to talk a bit about the island games. So, what was it like in the hotel in the island games? Because I know we've talked to some players, and it was basically like training, like the food, and then like you're spending time with your teammates again, and games. So, what was that like?
Yeah. Honestly, it was better than expected going in. We were thinking we'd be locked up in our rooms basically the whole time, only get to leave when you're going to training or to games. But it was actually decent. You know, we had freedom throughout the hotel. We had a nice big room that we could hang out in, play games and whatnot, ping pong. We had an outdoors area where we could sit just on a little patio. And it was a really good experience, actually. Spend a lot of time with your teammates. And yeah, the training and the games, it was a very well put on tournament by the CPL.
Yeah, because of the format, it made every game like so exciting, kind of like the World Cup, which I really liked. And so in one of the Eddie's final games in the Island games, you looked like you were kind of injured and you wanted to sub off, but there were no more subs available, and you stayed on and scored a beautiful goal. So could you tell me a bit about that experience in that game?
Yeah, so basically throughout the whole tournament, I was struggling with a bit of an Achilles strain. Just had some soreness in there. And in that game against Ottawa, I got kicked right on the heel, right below that area that was already hurt. So, you know, I felt like I could play on, but it really wasn't feeling good, and I could barely run. And so I thought, I'll just ask for a sub, because I'd rather someone get out there that can run than myself. I didn't realize we were out of subs yet, though. So when I went off, he goes, "Do you think you can keep going?" And I was like, "Well, do we not have a player that can go in?" And he says, "No, we're out of subs." So at that point, I was like, "Okay, I'll take a couple Advil and get back out there." And yeah, fortunately, we actually got a result out of that game.
Yeah, you scored kind of like that attitude that you were talking about earlier. Just like keep pushing, and then keep pushing, and like your hard work will get noticed, and just like that pushing attitude, which I really like.
That was a dramatic game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, all the games were so full of excitement, but that game was like, I think it topped most of the games. Like, it was just so full of excitement. Seeing you score that goal even when you were injured and with not much time left, it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was an exciting game to be a part of.
And so obviously the Island games didn't exactly go in Edmonton's favor, but all the teams were so closely, like, I don't think the skill, like, the level was very far off from what the other teams were. And if a couple bounces had gone their way, I think they could have been in or really close to being in. So what do you think about the performance of the team, considering all the factors going in at the time? Because obviously it was a new tournament and everybody had like some new players, and it was definitely a crazy tournament.
Yeah, I think we went into the tournament feeling confident that we have a team that can compete. I think we felt we were an improvement from last year, and yeah, we weren't too concerned with how we would do. I mean, obviously there was various factors that didn't go our way, and you know, we can complain about that all we want, but at the end of the day, we just didn't perform well enough, whether it be tactically or just our team as a whole just not coming together in the right ways. But yeah, it was definitely a disappointing tournament for us. I think we left wanting a lot more than we got. So yeah, like you said, it wasn't ideal for FC Edmonton.
Yeah, maybe just I think like if you guys had a bit more, just a bit more like games and practices, like FC Edmonton would have like settled into the league and like started winning some games and stuff like that.
Yeah, you
And
would have hoped so. I think we're definitely in some games and could have gotten some better results throughout the tournament. And yeah, you'd only think eventually things are going to pull together.
hmm
Yeah, it must have been difficult to have all those games like compressed, like that was very demanding on all the players, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was tough. You play a game, you have 2 days rest, and you're back out on the pitch again to play. And the upside to that is you have a bad game, 2 days, and you're back at it. You get to redeem yourself. Unfortunately for FC Edmonton, we had a lot of bad games, so didn't really help us in that regard. But I didn't mind the format and the games in such a short time. But yeah, it was good.
hmm
I'm curious about, do you follow like a special diet as a soccer player, or?
No, not really. I kind of just eat what I'm given. Obviously, I try and eat healthy. I try to limit the junk food as much as I can. Before games, I usually eat something similar, just a bit of chicken, rice, vegetables, keep it simple. But yeah, no, definitely don't follow any specific diet or really, not really that careful.
And what are your three favorite foods?
Oh, I like sushi a lot. Sushi's probably number one.
hmm
Um, Love pasta
hmm
and probably pizza.
Yeah, they're all so good. My little brother goes crazy for pizza. And yeah, I think sushi would be my third out of those three too.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah, sushi's really good, but I'm not sure it's super popular. I'm sure there's a lot of people that won't eat it.
yeah. I think a lot of people just they never try it because they think it's like raw fish and whatnot, and they're just
Yeah.
not too interested in it. But then once you have it for the first time, it's like, wow, this is really good.
Oh, I
yeah,
love sushi.
and there are also lots of flavors, which is nice.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot
Yeah.
of diversity,
What's your
variety.
what's your favorite kind of sushi?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, anything. Um,
It's nice getting a
yeah,
big boat and then just sampling some stuff, eh?
yeah. Kind of just order here, there, and everywhere, and just eat as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I wanted to move into Canadian soccer a little bit. So you're involved with the CONCACAF Men's Olympic Qualifying Championship. So could you tell me about like that experience and what it's been like?
Yeah, so I was initially selected to be part of the provisional roster, so
Yeah.
the final selection before they made the final decision on the team. And we were awaiting the announcement for what the squad would be going into the qualifiers. And then it was put off due to COVID and the tournament being postponed until next year. Um, and we still don't know where it's at, so it's just a matter of waiting and seeing what happens there.
Yeah, so are they gonna be like choosing their team from like some of the players that they had last year? Or is it gonna be like a whole new system of players?
Yeah, I believe the age category remains the same, and
Yeah.
anyone that was eligible in this past year would remain eligible. I assume if there's some players that have kind of come onto the scene in recent months, they'd definitely be considered. I don't think
hmm
they're stuck to who was selected for the provisional roster,
hmm
but I really don't know the details to it and really what's in the works. So I
hmm
wish I could tell you more, but I don't have answers right now.
Okay, but what was it like in that experience? Like even just before that, being like selected to the provisional roster and training, training, I guess, right?
Yeah, so we never actually came together. I was
Oh.
never a part of any national team camp or anything like that. But just being selected for me, it was really special because, like I said, growing up, I was never
hmm
a part of these select teams, youth national teams, professional academies, anything like that. So it was a big first step for me in reaching something that I always wanted but never had.
Well, it's better to do it at that age than, when you're 14.
Yeah, exactly. It means a little bit more when it's coming at a later stage.
Yeah. So I have a question. What's one area of your game that you're looking to improve this year when you're in Denmark?
Yeah, I think just using my body. I think I'm a big frame, obviously, and I just don't think I'm as effective with it as I could be. I think people look at me and I should be a hold-up striker, someone they can just clip a ball into and I'll take it down and lay off and hold off defenders. And I don't think I offer that quite to the extent that I should be able to. So it's definitely something I want to improve on and just make it a very strong asset in my game.
And so does that mean, just to follow up, does that mean that you're working on kind of building up your muscle? Is that one of the things that you're looking to put on some muscle?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. And then just really learning how to use my body, how to use my size, getting in front of defenders, pinning guys, and just really making the most of what I've got.
Yes. And I want to ask a question that's kind of related to the CPL, but also kind of related to Canadian soccer in general. So how far do you think Canadian soccer has come in just the past 2 years since the CPL came to Canada in the inaugural game of the CPL?
Yeah, I think it's come so far. I mean, first of all, you look at someone like Alphonso Davies or Jonathan David and what they've done in the past couple of years for Canadian soccer. But then also with the introduction of the CPL, without it, I wouldn't be a professional right now. I'd probably still be playing university soccer with no real hope of going anywhere because the jump from there to MLS is just too big and you don't really get that opportunity. And so that CPL it really creates that gap for players that need to reach that next level without making the jump to Europe or the jump to MLS. And it's huge for Canadian soccer because you have so many talented players that just need that opportunity to just progress as an athlete. And you look at myself or like a Tristan Borges or Joel Waterman who have now made these transitions to the next level. It's amazing what it's offering.
Yeah, and there have been some even some permanent moves even to Europe, like Emilio Estevez going to ADO Den Haag in the top flight of the Eredivisie. Like the Eredivisie is like just below like the top 5. I wouldn't because they compete with some of the teams that like go into the Champions League, like Ajax,
For sure.
And those other top teams like Feyenoord and Ajax, and those teams.
Who do
it's
you?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Who do you follow? Like, are there any teams that you kind of watch, or do you kind of just watch certain players?
I've never really been a fan of one team. Growing up, my first team would have been AS Roma. I was a big Francesco Totti fan. Once he started to slow down a bit, I moved on to Messi, watched Barcelona for many years. Then Zlatan went to Barcelona, started following Zlatan and until now, basically. So I think if there's one team I watch the most, it'd be AC Milan. But I wouldn't say I really support any individual team.
Okay.
Well, with Zlatan, you can't be married to one league anyhow.
Exactly.
He's played in all these different leagues.
Yeah.
But amazing that he's still playing at such a high level.
It's incredible.
You know. So what's a piece of advice that you've gotten from a coach that's made an impact on your game?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's necessarily one thing a coach said to me, but just that idea that you just got to keep working, and if it's something you want, you work for it and you don't give up, and eventually you'll get there.
Yeah, definitely. And is there a skill move that you love to use on the pitch, or is there one that's your favorite that you like to use or see someone do?
I wouldn't say there's any real skill moves that I like to use in my game. Maybe when I was a bit younger, I'd try some things, but now I like to keep my game as simple as possible. It takes a special player to be able to do those things in a game, especially at the higher levels. So yeah.
You strike me as just like a finisher. Like that's your thing. You're just all about the finish.
Yeah, in university, I did a little bit more. I was actually scoring a lot of goals where I dribble through guys and beat guys one-on-one and finish in that way. But then when I made that transition to the next level, it became a little bit harder to do those things. And I still needed to score goals. So it just turned into me just finding those spaces and finishing my chances.
But is there a skill move that you like to watch or something?
Um, I always love when they're holding a guy off and they do like a scoop turn and meg the guy.
Yeah,
That's always a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a funny one to see. And what advice can you give young players like starting out to like trying to become a pro and to play in the CPL or even higher than that?
Yeah, I think, I've kind of kept saying it throughout this interview, just to never give up, no matter where you're at, how hard things get, no matter who's dragging you down. Doesn't matter if coaches don't want you or they don't see the potential in you. You just got to believe in yourself and really just keep working on it, stay focused. And if it's truly your passion and what you want to do with your life, then you got to make it the priority. And throughout your life, there's going to be many things that could be distractions. And that's when you got to decide, is it football, or do I start living like a normal kid? You go into high school and kids start partying and getting distracted. That's when you got to decide, on my Friday night, am I going to go to the field and work on my shot for 3 hours, or am I going to go to that party and hang out with my friends? And it's these sacrifices you have to make to reach that next level. And so I'd say for a young kid that wants to be a pro, they got to make these decisions and they got to be prepared to sacrifice to reach that next level and to achieve their goals. And I can honestly say, once you sign that first pro contract, it's all worth it. You don't feel like you missed out on anything. You look at those people you grew up with and what they're doing, and they might be working here, there, in a desk, but you're playing soccer for a living, and it's like, you know what, I didn't need those parties in high school to be happy, right?
Yeah.
That's great advice. And
so just before you go on there, Jack, so I just wanted to say, so you obviously made those sacrifices for your career. Were there sacrifices that your parents made, to kind of make sure you had continuing opportunities to develop as well?
Yeah, of course. I think they realized that it was my passion. It's what I wanted to do. And driving me to countless practices across the city, here, there, and everywhere. My dad building me a soccer net in the backyard. Even finding a house with a big enough yard for me to be practicing back there. There's so many things they did to help me get where I am. And I'm obviously extremely grateful for all of that.
Nice. That's great to hear.
Well, I wanted to move on to my rapid fire questions. It is one of my favorite parts of the show. But just be warned, some people say that this part is a psychology show. I don't really see that, but let's get started.
Okay.
So, do you play FIFA?
I play way too much FIFA. When I got my call that I was going to Denmark, it's the first thing I put in my suitcase. my Xbox and my monitor. Xbox.
Okay. And is there a team that you're starting to like? Because I know you said you more support the players, not exactly a team, but is there a team that you like to watch?
I like watching PSG actually.
Okay, PSG.
Neymar and Mbappe are extremely entertaining.
Those two are very entertaining with their explosive movements, and they're also really good at the skill moves, which is nice to watch.
Yeah,
and what's your favorite fruit?
Favorite fruit? Probably raspberries.
Okay, raspberries are really good. Especially raspberries are really good, and they look so pretty, like when they're on cake or just even in a nice little bowl.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your favorite way to eat them?
Just in a big handful of stuff.
Okay, and do you have a nickname?
So my friends back home, my teammates, everyone really close to me back home has always called me Stones.
Stone?
Okay.
I can't really tell you why. Just kind of one of my buddies nicknamed me that when I was like 15, and it stuck. So
Okay.
yeah, Stones.
Okay. Okay, Stones. And what is one superpower you'd like to have?
I think I'd like to be able to see into the minds of other people, see what other people are thinking.
That'd
Yeah,
be
that
cool.
that would be a cool superpower.
If you ever figure that out, let me know how you did it so I
Yeah,
can
for
do
sure.
it.
And do you cook?
I mean, I've lived at home my whole life until
Yeah.
now. And even here, they got people cooking for me every meal. But if I need to, I can cook.
Okay. And what is the one place in the world you'd like to visit?
I really want to go to New York. I've never been.
Okay.
I think the next time I get a couple weeks off and travel restrictions are kind of lifted, that's probably the first place I'll go.
Yeah, and New York is a great city. There's lots of people and it's very busy.
Yeah, and I love architecture, and I just love to really see that in real life in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city, and when we went to the art gallery there, it's slipping my mind which one, but it's definitely worth going there.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is called Catch Me If You Can. It's with
Okay.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite board game?
Favorite board game? I think I like Monopoly the best, the classic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Monopoly. And are you a good dancer?
No, terrible dancer. I stay as far away from the dance floor as I can.
And what are 3 words to define you?
I think stable in a mental
Okay.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Dedicated
Mm-hmm.
and happy. I think I'm a generally happy guy, even though I might not show it always. I'm happy on the inside.
Yeah, I definitely see those in you, especially like the dedicated part with your story. I definitely see that throughout your story. And my last rapid fire question for you is kind of a closing up question, but what are your goals for the future?
I think if I was to set a very specific goal, it would be to represent Canada at the 2026
Mm-hmm.
World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
But just in general, just to reach my potential and just
Mm-hmm.
keep pushing until I really, when I'm 40, 50 years old, I can look back and say, I'm happy and I didn't really miss out on anything. I didn't leave anything there to be taken.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, Easton, for coming on our show. We really enjoyed talking with you and asking you some questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did too.
Awesome.
Well, good luck in your season in Denmark. Should be a great opportunity to learn some new things and play against some different players and kind of be exposed to new opportunities. So soak it up, and we're rooting for you.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah, we're trying to catch some games in Denmark, but it's kind of hard to find like the streams, and we don't exactly know where to get it from.
Yeah, my dad had to buy one of those VPN accounts and then have to sign up for the streaming service. It's not easy for sure.
Okay, so a streaming
Okay.
service in Denmark?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you have to buy a streaming service in Denmark and then change your
Yeah.
IP to a Denmark IP.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but
Okay.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck in the rest of your season, and we'll be rooting for you. Especially, we're really hoping that you'll score your first goal for your team in your next game. So good luck.
Yeah, I hope so
in
too.
next
Thank
game.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Thanks, Easton.
See you, Easton.
Yeah, take care, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.